The Antonov AN-225 Mriya was a strategic airlift cargo aircraft designed and produced by the Antonov Design Bureau in the Soviet Union. The Antonov project began in 1984 with a request from the Soviet government for a large airlifter as a replacement for the Myasishchev. The specifics of this request included the ability to carry a maximum payload of 231,838 kilograms, both externally and internally, while operating from any runway of at least 3,500 meters. As originally set out, the mission and objectives were broadly identical to that of the United States shuttle carrier aircraft, having been designed to airlift the Energia rockets boosters and the Buran-class orbiters for the Soviet space program. Accordingly, the Antonov Design Bureau produced a derivative of their existing Antonov 124 Ruslin airlifter. The aircraft was stretched via the addition of fore and aft fuselage barrel sections, while a new enlarged wing center was designed that facilitated the carriage of an additional pair of Progress D 18T turbofan engines, increasing the total from 4 to 6 power plants. A completely new tail was also required to handle the wake turbulence generated by the bulky external loads that would be carried on the aircraft's upper fuselage. On December 21, 1988, the AN-225 performed its maiden flight. It made its first public appearance outside the Soviet Union at the 1989 Paris Air Show, where it was presented carrying a Buran orbiter. 1 year later, it performed a flying display for the public days at the Farnborough Air Show. While 2 aircraft had been ordered, only a single AN-225 was finished. It could carry ultra-heavy and oversized freight, weighing up to 250,000 kilograms internally or 200,000 kilograms on the upper fuselage. A second AN-225 was partially built during the late 1980s for the Soviet space program. However, work on the airframe was suspended following the collapse of the Soviet Union. By 2000, the need for additional AN-225 capacity had become apparent. During September 2006, it was decided that the second AN-225 would be completed, a feat that was at one point scheduled to occur around 2008. However, the work was subject to repeated delays. By August 2009, the aircraft had not been completed and work had been abandoned. In May 2011, the Antonov CEO reportedly stated that the completion of the second AN-225, which would have a carrying capacity of 250 tons, requires at least $300 million. Upon the provision of sufficient financing, its completion could be achieved in 3 years. According to different sources, the second aircraft was 60 to 70% complete by 2016. During the early 2000s, studies were conducted into the production of an even larger AN-225 derivative, the 8-engined Antonov AN-325, which was intended to be used in conjunction with Russia's in-development MAKS spaceplane. In April 2013, the Russian government announced plans to revive Soviet-era air launch projects that would use a purpose-built modification to the AN-225 as a mid-air launch pad. In May 2017, Aerospace Industry Corporation of China's president informed a BBC reporter that aerospace industry had first contemplated cooperation with Antonov in 2009 and made contact with them 2 years later. They intend to modernize the second unfinished AN-225 and develop it into an air-launch-to-orbit platform for commercial satellites at altitudes up to 39,000 feet. On March 25, 2020, the first AN-225 commenced a series of test flights from Hostomel Airport near Kyiv, after more than a year out of service, for the installation of a domestically designed power management and control system. Development. The Antonov was powered by a total of 6 Progress D 18T turbofan engines, 2 more than the AN-124, the addition of which was facilitated by the redesigned wing root area. An increased capacity landing gear system with 32 wheels was designed, some of which are steerable. These enable the airlifter to turn within a 60-meter wide runway. The AN-225 incorporated a nose gear designed to kneel, so cargo can be more easily loaded and unloaded. Additional measures to ease loading and unloading activities included the 4 overhead cargo cranes that could move along the whole length of the cargo hold, each of which was capable of lifting up to 5,000 kilograms to facilitate the attachment of external loads, such as the Buran orbiter. Various mounting points were present along the upper surface of the fuselage. The flight deck of the AN-225 was at the front of the upper deck, which was accessed via a ladder from the lower deck. This flight deck was largely identical to that of the AN-124, save for the presence of additional controls to manage the additional pair of engines. To the rear of the flight deck was an array of compartments which, amongst other things, accommodated the crew stations for the aircraft's 2 flight engineers, navigator, and communication specialist, along with off-duty rest areas, including beds, which facilitated long-range missions to be flown. Even when fully loaded, the AN-225 was capable of flying non-stop across great distances. The AN-225 as the world's heaviest aircraft, exceeding the weight of the double-deck Airbus A380 airliner.